I'm back at project house number 1, and today I'm going to work on putting the footer drains in. But first, I'm going to show a video here before the new footer was poured. As you can see, they had some rebar stands. The first footer had to be tore out, and now this is the second footer that's getting prepped and ready to be formed here. If you just want to see me putting in the footer drain, you can skip ahead to about the 3-minute mark. I start prepping for that. So as you can see here, it's formed up a lot nicer than it was the first time, a lot straighter. They didn't just screw the boards, have them overlapping, they cut them, etc. They brought out a plate compactor, made sure the base was well compacted. Here is the old footer that got ripped out. As you can see, the base wasn't really compacted at all because the gravel's just loose there. But the rebar, it was just sitting at the bottom everywhere. At first, you saw it kind of in the middle. That's just where it was in the house. And then it was just sitting on the bottom around the whole thing. And the contractor kept telling me, just trust them. They compacted the base. They pulled the rebar, whatever. And I was like, I don't really trust you on that. And I'm glad I stuck to it and had them rip it out and redo it, because it's clear to see the rebar wasn't pulled and the base wasn't compacted. If you saw the last video, they pulled out the base, and there again is where it was just connected to the house. But the last video, they poured out the base and then put in loose gravel, didn't compact it. And by the fact there's so much gravel stuck to that, that's how you can tell it really wasn't compacted at all. And then the rebar was just sitting right at the bottom. Half of this footer came out, and the rebar was even below the concrete doing nothing. Like, you can see it just sticking out right here because it just broke right away from the concrete. So I was not too happy at all with the first people, but the second people were much better, and I'm really, really glad I had the contractor rip it out, and then he brought in somebody else to do it again. This is just a quick update. The footer has been poured again, so now the footer's in here. It's not perfect, but it's a lot better than it was. We got on a compacted base. There's rebar going through it. The rebar was on stand, so the rebar will stay in the middle. And we have the rebar sticking up to tie the first course of block into the footer. So these guys did a lot better job than the first people. It wasn't even close. But now we got a footer that it's on a compacted base, has rebar in it, should be hopefully good to go. So stay tuned. Hopefully the block will be going on next. The footer is poured, so what I'm going to start on now, so there's all this extra concrete. I'm going to knock all that out because that's where the footer drain is going to go. I'm going to install a footer drain around this whole thing. It's going to end somewhere in here because I'm going to connect it to the rest of the footer drains, but I haven't got to that point yet. So eventually I'll dig up both of these sides, put in a whole new footer drain along the whole level of the house. But for right now, I'm just going to put one in around here because it'll be easier to do that now than once they get the block put in. Once they get the block put in, it'll be a lot tighter space to work. So I'm going to put the footer drain in now with some stone around it and some fabric. So I'll put on a time lapse so you guys can watch me do it. Now I'm just going to start pulling out this loose concrete, this over pour. And apparently when the concrete truck came, it was a newer driver, so he wasn't super precise. But it's really easy. I'm just using this hammer. It's breaking apart pretty easily. It's pretty fresh concrete, and getting it all out of there, and then we'll get started on the rest. I have all the concrete on the sides out, so now I need to work on getting where it's caved in a few places, get this dirt up out of there. There's not as much on this side, just a little bit, and then a little bit here along the back and the other side. Once I get that out, I'll lay the fabric down on the bottom. I'll put in a little bit of stone, and then the pipe, I'll start laying and gluing the pipe in. I want my high point to be right in the middle here, and then it to slope down this way. And I'm going to stay pretty close to the bottom of the footer because
The footer for the house is probably a foot deeper than this footer, so I can slope down a good ways. Once I get hooked into it, I can have plenty of room to slope. So up here I'll stay pretty low because I'm dropping. If I was just trying to run the whole 44 feet, then I would want to start a little bit higher back here if it was all, the footer was all at the same height, to allow enough room to drop.
And there's just a little bit more. I need to get some of that dirt out of there, get some gravel before I put this fabric down. Because I want the fabric to be gravel underneath it, and then I'm putting a little bit of gravel on the top. I'm just pulling from my pile up there. So I have like an inch or two of gravel on top of that fabric before I put the pipe on top of it. And then eventually the pipe will be encased in fabric as well. I wish I would have brought some clips to hold it in a little bit better, like to hold it up on that dirt. I didn't really have any. I went and got a little bit of these, I had some nails that were in Romex staples. So I pulled the nails out of those and I was using them, but they weren't really holding up the absolute best. So next time I think I would definitely get some clips or bigger staples, but it worked out.
So what I did here is I put this fabric down and then I put a little bit of gravel just to hold it in. The pipe will sit right on this, and then the rest of this will be picked up and put over top, just like that. So it'll keep all this dirt out of the pit. So what I'm going to work on is get this pipe in here, get some more gravel in here, get this pulled over on top, and then put a little bit more gravel in it to hold it, and then hopefully that should be good. So now I got the fabric in, a little bit of gravel on the base. I just set a couple of these pipes in here. I tacked up the fabric to this back a couple places, kind of hold it up. But now I got to go home, get a level, get a saw, and then I'm going to come back and cut these pipes and install this part, and then get some more gravel, fill in on top. I got the excavator here, so I'm going to take the excavator down to the driveway, scoop gravel into a wheelbarrow, then wheelbarrow it up here and dump it down in here. It's pretty hot today, and this is taking a little bit longer than I would have liked, but I'm getting it done.
Now I'm getting started on gluing these pipes together. As you can see, I'm using both pipe cleaner, or some people call it primer, as well as glue. I have clear for both. A lot of times people won't even use glue for these, or will use only glue and not primer too. But I figure I'm only going to really do this once, so I might as well do it right. And I'm using the Sawzall to chop it down. Then I clean off the edges. After I cut it, I clean off the edges to get all that loose stuff off, and then clear primer, blue glue. Now I'm getting to the first 90, and I'm just marking it to where I want it to go, because I want to put it in and then twist it. So when you're gluing the pipe together, you put it in and then you twist it, rotate it a little bit so it seats in there good.
Now all the footer drain is in. We got the 90s. We got it sloping toward this way. And then back here, I have it sloping a little bit this way, that way. And then at this corner, I have it sloping down that way. So I'm going to go get some gravel, get this all set in gravel, and then pull this cloth over the top and put some more gravel on top to keep this kind of encapsulated and clean. Here's a quick peek of what it looks like from above before I start putting the gravel in. And I got the bottom of it right with the base of the footer. When I get the gravel in, I'm going to lift it up a little bit, but pretty much I want to get as close to the bottom of the footer as I can. So then, and again, if all this footer for the whole house was the same length, I would have started this one probably about 5 inches high. So then by the time I made it down there, it was close to the bottom with the drop. But since this footer is about a foot higher than the other footer, that's why we did it this way.
Here's the first wheelbarrow of stone going in. And when I put this in, I realized my problem. When I pushed it in, it pushed all the fabric down. So then I kind of had to dig it all back out. like move all that gravel to get the fabric pulled back out, which took some time. And I did that about 10, 15 wheelbarrows. And then Blake came and he would bring the excavator. Well, he got in the excavator and would drive it down, pick up a load of gravel, come dump it, and then I would be down here to spread it around and hold the fabric back. It was a lot faster to have the excavator down there and scoop it in the wheelbarrow and then push the wheelbarrow up, because you can push the wheelbarrow a lot faster than you can drive the excavator. But just driving the excavator is a lot easier, I guess. So that's what happened here. That's what you see going here. It took not too terribly long. And then once I got all of that in, I pulled the fabric over, and then I put another layer of fabric down and a little bit of gravel on top, which you guys will see here in a minute.
I've got it all wrapped up now. I put the fabric down, then the gravel in, then I put another layer of fabric on the top and put a little bit of gravel over it, so it should keep all the dirt out of it. But the footer drain's in. Next step is they're going to put block. I might come back here tomorrow and put some fabric on this back part, but next step should be the block being poured.